My name is Lance Rougeux, and I am so excited that you're joining us today. We have an amazing trip planned. We are here in Warsaw, Indiana at Creighton Brothers, and our wonderful host here, Mindy Creighton, Truex, another person like myself who has this wonderful UEX at the end. We've been learning so much in the past couple days just about this whole food web, farm food web, and we're really excited that you're joining us today. So, a couple of housekeeping things. Where you're watching us right now, there is a little box below the screen. You can enter questions at any point. We would love to have your questions. We actually put a challenge up for you asking how you're part of a farm food web. So if you get a chance in the next couple minutes, put that up there because we're going to be coming back live to see who answered that correctly. So we have this really awesome journey planned for you today. We are with Mindy, who is the fifth generation of the farm. It's hard enough to have like a business for a year, let alone, it's been 90 years?
90 years this year.
90 years this year. It actually just takes us right into the first question that we got. So should we do that? Because this is interactive. I'm going to be monitoring the best that I can. We have all sorts of fun things planned for you. I'm going to be checking the questions here as we learn from Mindy and her team. But send those questions in. We'll try to get to as many as we can. The first question that came up. This is from Miss Doss, Crabb Orchard School, Marion, Illinois. What made the first generation of your family start this incredible farm that we're at today?
Well, in 1925, that was when my grandpa and his brother, out of the 6 siblings, there were 4 boys, 2 girls, the 2 of the brothers got together to start the farm in 1925. And I'm 3rd generation of that and 5th generation of our family that goes back to the 1800s farming in this area, living pretty much in the same pieces of farm and things that we have now. From there, they tried hogs, that didn't work, so in 25 they got with some other folks in the area that did chickens, and they talked my grandpa into getting together and doing chickens. So they ordered 1,200 white leghorn chickens from one of the neighbors down in Mentone, and the Midwest being the egg basket of the Midwest because of our great crops around here for the corn and the beans and everything, and then also the rail systems that can take the eggs from Chicago to New York and things, very handy. So that was also a thing that lent this area in the Midwest to being great for eggs.
Excellent, excellent. So we're here today, I mean, on this farm, and we were looking at some of the pictures you had in the hallway too. Like a lot of history here, but there's also a lot of hens,
lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on, and we're really talking about this concept of a food web, the farm food web. So I taught 6th grade at one point, 6th grade science. So the food web concept, I mean, I loved when we studied ecosystems because we're really talking about how plants and animals interact and rely on each other. So we're going to talk about producers. So the producers on your farm are what?
Would be the crops, the corn, the beans, and things we grow every year out in the fields.
Okay, so producers are the ones they can make their own food.
They make the food.
They make the food. Consumers, all right, and you guys are probably studying this too. Consumers, we have a couple different types of consumers, but consumers basically do what?
The primary consumer is the one taking in that food from the crops, from the producers. So that would be the chickens eating the feed and things that's produced out in the fields.
Okay, and then we have a couple other, we'll get into kind of the details of the other kinds of consumers, but there's one other important one that we're gonna jump out to later. There's something called a decomposer.
Yeah, that's when you kind of start bringing the web full circle back to the crop aspect of it, and with our manure management systems and what we do with all that poop that the chickens are producing, in addition to the eggs that they produce.
Excellent, excellent. And we will be talking about manure and poop and all sorts of things, so get those questions in. I know you have good questions about that in particular, right? So let's start with this food web that they just saw a picture of. Let's start with, with our producers. We're going to jump out to Lori. Lori, it does what at your
Lori's
farm?
our feed mill manager, and she makes sure that all the right orders are taken for the different farms. We have 22 buildings out there all together with the laying hens, and so we want to make sure that they're all getting the right mix and feed, because if those are messed up, it messes up everything for the chicken trying to produce the eggs. So she manages the mill and keeps the trucks going out to the farms.
Okay, so we're going to go out to Lori and learn a little bit more about the producers. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Lori. I'm the feed mill manager at Creighton Brother Farms. The success of our farm and the foundation of our food web starts with our crops. The corn, the soybeans, the wheat are the bulk of what our hens eat. Our farm is able to produce almost 50% of the corn needed to feed our hens for the year. We rely on neighboring farmers to provide the rest of the corn, soybeans, and wheat that we need. Laying eggs is hard work. Our hens need a balanced diet to produce nutritious eggs and strong eggshells. That is why the producers of the crops are so important to what we do. We work with nutritionists to develop feed formulas to get the right amount of nutrition that our hens need to survive and lay eggs. The crops are brought into the mill and mixed in a way that the hens get what they need with every peck. These are the computers that weigh the ingredients to ensure that we get the proper amount into the feed. Once the formula is complete, it is loaded onto a truck and delivered to the farm. The feed is stored in large steel bins. From there, an auger will transfer the feed from the steel bins to the troughs in front of the chickens. On our farm, everything is connected. We take great care to grow healthy crops, as do our neighboring farmers, because we know that our chickens rely on that, as do other animals. Thanks for stopping by to learn more about the foundation of our food web. Now back to you, Lance, for some student questions.
So welcome back, everyone. We just learned a little bit more about how producers play such an important role here on the farm and in this farm food web. And we have a fun activity set up for you. And I'm going to actually introduce a couple students. We have hundreds of thousands of students that are watching, and remind you, submit those questions. We want to hear from you. We have a couple students here live with us, Maggie and Jerome. Why don't you guys tell us where you go to school?
Hi, I'm Maggie, and I'm in 5th grade, and I go to St. Joan of Arc School in Chicago.
Hi, I'm Jerome. I'm in 7th grade, and I go to the International Studies of George B. Armstrong in Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago, Illinois. So Maggie and Jerome are going to help us out with this activity because we want to dig into this idea of producers. So producers are the plants, the crops that make the food, right?
Right.
Okay. So before we get into the activity, though, we did get some questions about producers. Mind if we take a few first?
Sure.
Okay. So this one it's a question from Illinois, right? Do you always use the same type of feed for your hens?
The same basics go into every different feed ration. The corn and the beans make up the ground corn, soybean meal. Those are the foundation of every formulation. But with different ages, and the young birds not producing eggs yet, and then the hens that are producing, and throughout their life cycle, we have about at least 60 different formulations that we use for whatever happens to be going on with the flock at the time.
All right, so related to that, this is from Mr. Strayer's 3rd grade class. So Mr. Strayer, you're watching, thank you for this question. Newton Lee Elementary School, different varieties, 60 different types, but what specifically do you feed them?
More specifically, we have down here this is the corn and beans that we have straight from the field, so you can kind of see what they look like in their raw format. And then this would be the ground corn and soybean meal. Those are the two primary ingredients that I was telling you about before. And then this is wheat midds, which just means it's the very middle heart of the wheat, as you see it when you see a normal stalk of wheat. And the kids were looking at these earlier, and actually kind of smells a little bit like a loaf of bread.
Okay.
But yeah, those are the...
Do the hens have any particular favorite part of the food that do you guys know that? Like some hens like certain parts of, because you can give them an interesting mix here.
Yeah, the one thing we have to, and the big reason why we have to grind it up is because they like the corn and they'll pick it out. And so this is finished feed. And so you can tell that if the kernels were in there in this size, they could just pick it out and not get the full nutrient value of what's going on in all the things that are put into the feed.
Okay. Well, and we have something set up here to demonstrate this for you guys, and I think it's a pretty cool activity, and you guys are going to help us, right?
Yep.
So I assume we're not having a snack. What are we doing here?
What we're going to do is take the cereal, and that shows us kind of like these ingredients that need ground up so that the chickens don't pick out just what they want. If the kids would take a couple handfuls each of the cereals here, let's just put 2 big old handfuls in there. So you can kind of think of this is at the feed mill where all the ingredients are getting added. And then we'll put the lid on, and at the feed mill then they mix up the feed. So if you want to mix the feed for us. So then as you can see, it's mixed up and everything, but if this was chicken feed, they could still be picking just what they want out of there. So if you guys would show us how easy it is just to pick out what you want out of there. All
And we
right.
don't want, I mean, just like here, we don't want the chickens, the hens doing that because you want all the
It
nutrients.
mix out on a lot of the nutrients if they're just picking out the good parts.
Oh, fantastic.
So then to further show then what we actually do in the mill, that we have a baggie here. You can put this that's left. It's mixed up, but it needs another step. And at the feed mill, we have what's called a roller mill, and that's what takes the corn from the big pieces like that down to the more ground-looking corn. And so Jerome wants to take that, and he's going to play our grinder mill and work on smashing that up.
Nice job.
Awesome. So that's what we have in a lot of the big buildings next door here to the office, where they're mixing and grinding and making sure the feed's well mixed together.
So they're mixing it together again just to make sure, kind of reinforcing so that you can't pick out just what you wanted there.
Yeah. So once he gets that all mixed up, we have this one because that's a lot of feed to mix there. So at the end of the day, that's what it then looks like. You can pour some of that in there, can't you? Okay, so then as you can see with a lot of this, as it's mixed up, then you get little particles in there. And the little particles, like in the finished feed over here, it makes it harder for the chicken just to pull out what she wants. We have to make sure she also gets her vitamins and minerals in there too.
All right. That's kind of like when I eat trail mix. Like I pick out the chocolate pieces,
Yeah.
right? But here we're preventing that. Like we want the hens to get all the different nutrients. Can you take us through? This is such a great little demo. You guys should try this with your parents. Show your siblings. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what all goes into the hen's feed? Because there's so many different.
Yeah, there's a few more things we put in. The important part for the shell, once she starts laying her eggs, we have to make sure that she has all the right nutrients she needs for the shell. So in this one we have calcium, and this is fine lime and then just coarse limestone.
Wait a second. So this is, guys,
Stone.
grab some of that.
Yes. Little stones.
These are stones?
And it's limestone all pulverized and beat up that small. And that's kind of like taking a time release vitamin, where when you can take that and it'll actually sit in the chicken system and be more of a slow release form of the calcium, where the fine lime, when we use that at different stages, that's going to be more of a just taken up more quickly into their system. This one is what's called monocal, which is a phosphorus source, and the phosphorus and the calcium are what are needed to put on those good shells and things. So then we get into all kinds of other things, because the protein and the energy is very important for the chicken. And so we had the ground corn and the soybean meal and the wheat midds, and that's your big part. And then sometimes if we want to substitute some things for the corn, we can also get into what's called DDGs, which is the dried distiller's grain from the ethanol plants that people have ever heard about, all the production of ethanol and things. Well, when they process the corn to get the ethanol out, they end up with this left over, and it's just a byproduct of the ethanol process, and it's called the dried distiller's grain, and it's able to be used in place of or in conjunction of the regular corn for another energy source. And then we have a meat meal that also serves as, if corn prices are high, we have some alternate things we can use to substitute for corn if need be. And then also, nothing like a little salt thrown in the mixture.
Goodness.
For taste.
This looks appetizing to
things.
me. What do you guys think? Did you know that much stuff went into it?
Not salt. I didn't think
No.
salt
And then
went
salt,
into it.
I didn't think. I mean,
No.
the stone, I kind of think I maybe knew that at one point, but like the chunks, so there's a ton of stuff. What do you have there?
This one, this gooey stuff that'd make you lose your appetite, that it's fat. And we actually get tanker loads of fat in, and a lot of these ingredients are very dusty and things. And so to make it more palatable for the chickens, and it's also energy and things, we add just a little bit of fat to the mixture to get it to
Moisturize.
Moisturize.
Tastes
and-
better.
moisturize the feed. Yep.
And ultimately, all of this, mixing it all together, it
Yep.
ends up
And then
looking like,
we come back to the original ground feed, and with some of that you can see some of the stone
There's the
pieces in there, the little rock in there with the,
And then
and the
corn.
calcium and the corn.
it's
And
mixing it all together though for these guys, it's ultimately so that they get all the nutrients.
yeah, we
right?
want them. There's also vitamin and mineral premixes that are added in micro, little small amounts compared to a big ton batch. It's just put in smaller amounts, but we want to make sure they get a good, full, well-rounded diet because all of that goes into making the super nutritious egg and things. So we want to make sure that the protein and all the vitamins and minerals and things are there.
So all of these things from your farm, the producers, I mean, what a critical role, because all of this goes into actually taking care of your consumers, who are the stars of the show here,
The primary
right?
consumer.
So why don't we jump out? Why don't we jump out to Josh Crabb and learn a little bit about our consumers? And thank you guys, you did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Enjoy. See you in a minute.
Hi, I'm Josh Crabb, and I'm the Technical Services Manager for our farms. The Creighton Brothers Farm started in 1925 with just 1,200 white leghorn chickens and now has grown to caring for over 3 million hens. We have all white leghorn hens in a mix of ages to provide eggs for different uses, like eggs that you get from the supermarket to go to your table, restaurant quality eggs, and value-added products. We're here in one of our colony system houses, and they provide amenities for the birds such as nest space, perch areas, and extra floor space for the hens so they can exhibit more of their natural behaviors. We're committed to the highest quality animal care because we understand that a healthy hen is critical to the success of our business, the overall health of our farm food web, and to our community. That is why Creighton Brothers was one of the first farms to be a part of the United Egg Producers Animal Care Certified Program. This is a program that protects the health of our hens by guaranteeing nutritious, hormone-free feed, clean water, and fresh air at all times. As part of our commitment to our animals, we also installed a state-of-the-art ventilation system with cool cells in our hen houses that ensure the best environment and air quality for our birds. This also helps us keep the birds healthy and cool in the summer heat. We value our hens as an important part of our food web. Our hen house managers inspect the cages regularly to check air temperature, the food and water, and the egg collection systems. We are also able to monitor the hens' activity through various computer systems which track the food and water supply. These are the augers that transfer the right amount of feed from those plants you just learned about to our hens. This system's designed to provide the feed and water that our hens need to produce an egg almost every single day. When a hen produces an egg, it rolls through an opening in the housing system and is safely carried from the hen house to the gathering room by the egg belt. They're placed on flats and stacked on pallets. Eggs are then moved to our large farm coolers where they're stored until they're moved to the processing plant. Thank you for joining me to learn more about the primary consumers in our farm food web, our hens. Now let's go back to Lance to answer some of your questions.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that. We have another special guest with us, Cal Jackson. Cal, what do you do here at Creighton Brothers?
Well, I'm the production manager, and pretty much I'm responsible for the chickens from day of age when they come in as baby chicks until they leave us at the end of their production cycle.
And it sounds like you're, so we talked about producers and we just went into our primary consumers. Your primary consumers, your hens, they're pretty busy here, aren't they?
Our girls stay awfully busy, and they're proud of their work, but yes, they do stay busy and are very productive for us.
Excellent, excellent. So can you just tell us a little bit about kind of the day-to-day? What exactly what do you do?
Well, basically, again, my job is to supervise the welfare and the care of the birds, and that's from day of age on up. And again, that's evaluating their health and their welfare. We do that through a variety of activities. We monitor their body weights and we make sure they're vaccinated. We do a variety of things that monitor and follow the benefit and welfare of the birds.
Perfect. And in terms of the monitoring, right? That was you have this Hen Cam set up. That's where I was going with this because I thought this was so cool, and I was like, I wonder if we can show it. Can we show it? So can you tell us about? Oh, we have it up here right now. The Hen Cam. Tell us about this.
Actually, these are young hens that we've just moved into a layer facility very recently. And chickens are very curious creatures, and they enjoy their environments. And in that situation, they were inspecting and looking at their new system that they're in and where they're going to lay eggs in the future.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I mean, we could watch the Hen Cam all day, but we have a bunch of questions from kids. Can we take a few?
Sure.
Okay, so let's see. Mr. Dugan's 5th grade class, Lansdale, Pennsylvania, wants to know from both of you guys what the favorite part of your job. So why don't we start with Cal?
Well, again, as I shared, part of my job is just taking care of the birds, and I really enjoy actually walking through the layer houses, listening to the birds sing. And as a bird lays an egg, they're very proud of their work, and they will sing and carry on. And I thoroughly enjoy just listening to the happy sounds of the layer houses. But I also really enjoy the baby chicks. When we get baby chicks into our facilities, they're so curious and rambunctious as they run around and explore their environment. I enjoy just watching the chicks.
Well, that is really neat. The one thing when we were talking earlier too, and you said it there, is like when they sing songs because they're proud of their work. I think that's actually a good lesson for the kids watching, right? So if you're proud of your work, just stand up in class and sing a song, right? Your teacher will happily appreciate that. All right. How about you, Mindy?
Well, I'm in the office more and things, and a lot of what I work with is communications with people around the community. Anytime we can do something to bring somebody to the farm, teach them about the farm, that's what I love to do. I love to share this with everybody and educate them on what farmers do, and especially on our end of animal agriculture and things. I'd like to get out to the farm more, and once in a while I do, but yeah, just teaching people about what all we do is fun.
Excellent. So education, and now that you have the Hen Cam, I imagine that helps out, right? All right, so another question here. Let's take this one from Julia and Nathan. So if you're watching, thank you for your question. Nolan Elementary, Dearborn, Michigan. How many eggs do you gather every day, every year? So Cal?
Well, and I really do like that question because it does acknowledge the fact that our chickens are animals and not machines, and that on weekends we just can't turn them off and then come back on Monday and turn them back on and start gathering eggs. So literally, a chicken can lay an egg every day, but not every chicken lays an egg every day. And so we have about 3 million chickens, and we get about 2,400,000 eggs a day. And then if you were to actually lay those eggs end to end, it would make a line of about 95 miles long. And then if you take our yearly production and laid it end to end, it would go around the world 1 1/3 times.
Wow. I just thought you took care of the hens. You're a mathematician now, too. So I didn't know there was going to be math involved in this. That's fascinating. 2.4 million eggs a day. So how many, I'm curious, just throw this in the chat window. Let's do a little math right now. 2.4 million eggs a day. If you put those in, you guys typically put them in dozen containers, right? How many dozen is that? So somebody, enter your question right below where you're watching now, and we'll see who has quick math skills, other than Cal, of course, right? All right, so next question. This is from Cathedral Chapel School, Los Angeles, California. They want to know, what's the difference between brown and white? Mindy, this is yours.
Brown eggs and white eggs are pretty much just shell color is the only difference. These that we brought in, you can see there's the color of the shell is the only difference in them. If I broke these out in a bowl, they would have the same white, same yolks and everything. Nutritionally, they're exactly the same. It's just a matter of what breed of chicken laid the eggs. And brown chickens usually lay brown eggs, and white chickens lay white eggs. And the white chickens, coincidentally, too, have white earlobes. And so that also tells us that a white chicken with white earlobes will lay a white egg.
Oh. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. I know that's a question that we get a lot, and I appreciate you guys asking. Cal, another one for you. Miss Sandoval's class. So Miss Sandoval, thank you for your question. Because eggs are so fragile, how do you keep the eggs from cracking as they go through the packing process and eventually to us?
And that another good question. And again, the egg really is a wonderful package. The shell is very firm, and when it's developed properly, it is very resistant to being cracked. But we do all we can through, as Mindy mentioned earlier, nutrition, making sure the hens receive the right nutrition to allow the bird to form the shell appropriately. Then we do a lot of training with our employees, making them understand or having them understand that eggs are fragile to some degree and they have to be handled properly. We make sure through our maintenance department that our equipment is all managed and maintained properly. And so with proper nutrition, proper training, and proper management, the egg can arrive at the consumer in an intact and solid form.
Excellent. So lots of different things from technology. I mean, that's the one thing I've noticed here too, like the number of jobs that involve all sorts of technology. But then it does go back to, we talk about the food web today. I mean, an important part of that is the nutrition, which ultimately comes from, everybody that's watching, shout it out in your class. What part of the food web does that come from? That comes from the producer, right? So we talked about producer, we talked about consumer. Primary consumer is your hen, right? But we asked a question earlier, what part of the, how do you participate or how are you a part of the farm food web? So I'm going to just jump out here and see who responded. Let's see. Oh, wow. Lots of you responded. That's what happens when there are 500,000 students watching us, right? I'm going to just call out a couple. Miss Moya's third grade class, Austin, Texas. Elverson, PA, Mrs. Trofos, third grade class. Mrs. Carlson's class in Michigan. Burlington, Vermont, Hunt Middle School. Ultimately, we are part of a farm ecosystem because we consume the crops that are grown on the farms as well as the eggs. We consume eggs, so nice job. Give yourselves a round of applause. You got it right. All right. So we've talked about a couple different things. We've talked about producers, consumers, primary consumers, and secondary consumers. There's another part, though, of this farm food web that we're seeing right now called the decomposers. Can you tell us a little bit about how that plays out here and what that is?
The decomposers kind of bring the whole web circle back full circle, where the crops that are out on the fields in the fall, you leave some of the fodder from the corn and the beans out on the field, and then we mix manure back out throughout anytime after the crops are picked, you can apply things back out on the farm, and then it's all disced in and gets the fields all ready for the next year.
Okay, so ultimately, Cal, it goes back to what you said. You said hens are good at two primary things, right?
Our hens are very good at multitasking.
Okay.
They're very good at producing eggs. And they're very good at producing poop. Yes.
Okay, so this is the segment where we talk about poop, otherwise known as manure. And you guys have a really sophisticated manure management system. So we're going to jump out to Steve. Steve's going to show us. So Steve Miller is going to talk to us about the manure management system. Enjoy. This is my favorite segment.
If you could smell what I smell. Hi, I'm Steve Miller with Creighton Brothers Farms. I oversee the manure management system here at Creighton Brothers. And as part of the food web, manure management feeds the soil to feed our crops that we grow to make the feed for our chickens, which also leads to the healthy egg that you buy at the store. As part of our manure management system, we market our manure in a 160-mile radius around the farm. For every pound of egg that is produced, we produce about half a pound of manure. So it is vitally important that we put this manure in the right place to be good stewards of the land. The manure is collected from underneath the birds and then conveyed into a semi-truck, which is then trucked to the surrounding area in Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. The different crops take different ingredients to grow, so we match the right need of the crop with the nutrient analysis from the manure behind me so that we put the right manure in the right spot every time. We are committed to environmental stewardship because we know for future sustainability of our farm, we need to make sure that we protect our natural resources for future generations to continue to provide quality crops and healthy eggs for our community. Thank you for joining me today to learn a little more about our manure management system and how we utilize that here at our farm.
So welcome back. Steve mentioned to us, first of all, I hope you enjoyed that video. Steve mentioned to us that your manure management process system is really all part of kind of your commitment to sustainability. Can you explain what that is to the kids, like how that works?
And again, farmers across the country are very concerned about their stewardship with their resources and understanding sustainability in all of our practices. And as Steve explained, manure management is our part of that. And that's where we take the poop that the birds are very good at generating and utilize that manure as a resource, as a fertilizer, as a nutrient for our crops. And we do that through a variety of processes and using a variety of our resources here.
Okay. And Steve showed us, I think it was 160-mile radius is where you truck your manure. Mm-hmm. So how does it from just, kind of fresh manure, what do you do to actually make it something that the farms put on their soil to actually fertilize it?
Well, two things. One, a lot of the farmers that bring trucks right to the farm, and they'll load it right out like they showed on the video, and actually take that to their farms to spread it. With the layer manure, that already has the eggshells or the calcium source in it. This is the eggshells from our processing plant, where we have the shell eggs, and then for their egg products, we have a lot of shells left over from where we break them, get the whites and the yolks that we do special products with. And then we've always had to figure out something over the years to do with the shells. Well, we discovered that the pullet manure, they haven't been fed that extra calcium and phosphorus and things for the egg production, so we mix the shells back in with their manure.
So these are shells. Wait, hold on a
these are-
second. Why are these two?
He's a little hesitant
Yeah,
about
no,
this
but
magic
wait.
piece of the,
So just so the kids can see this too. This one, Kyle, like you clearly put these three down while I was looking at something. This one does not have a lid, and that one doesn't have a lid. What do you have in? Why does that have a lid?
it's the magic special.
So what? So this is
This is
eggshells?
compost,
Compost.
and
Oh, now I know why it had a lid. I just kind of.
See? Yeah.
It's healthy. It's
Yes,
very
sir.
healthy.
it's real manure. We didn't. No staged items here. But a lot of times you take the manure and the eggshells and different things, put them out on the fields, and this is just some stuff from out across the road, from the cornfield. And in the fall, when the combines have come through and cut the corn stalks off, this is what's left out in the dirt. And so when you put the manure on, if we put the eggshells out there, all the things that happen and decompose out there in the ground, and so that's where you get the good healthy bacteria working, and the all the fungi and the bacteria and stuff that breaks down, because all these roots, all these things have to be able to break down. And when it's all mixed back up, and then this is some of the compost that some of the farmers may get this to put out on fields and things.
So ultimately, that's the whole decon. So we talked about.
You can wipe it
know.
on him, or you can wipe it on it.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. We're your guests. So you feel free.
For
It's
firm
black
folks, you
shirt.
just rub it on your jeans. But
We're all friends here. So
we
you
just
know,
don't have to ride home with you.
we have producers, consumers, decomposers, and decomposers. Ultimately, they're breaking all of this down, using bacteria, to ultimately, because they all have energy and nutrients.
Right.
Okay, and then eventually it becomes.
We want to make sure the ground's well fed so it grows a good crop the next year.
Okay.
And so that's where you get the ongoing cycle and the whole farm food web of it, that it all comes around and goes around.
Excellent, excellent. Anybody like to have Cal take a whiff of the container here? Cal, they're all saying
my
yes.
turn?
You're used to this, I imagine, right? It doesn't. It
That
actually
smells really good.
smells
See,
good.
that's where a proper science class, though, they teach you to do
It's a
this instead of, you don't.
yeah. So this is. I mean,
Smells like home.
This is like kind of this is completing. Smells like home. It's completing the food web, right? Ultimate. All right. So we had a question come in from Dr. Levette, Jefferson Community School in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he asked, "How as a community member can we help our farmers?"
Oh, anytime you can take advantage of the different agritourism things that are available out there. If you have neighbors, if you live in a rural community at all, that you can go visit your local farmer, go ask them questions. Anytime if a school can take a field trip out to a farm, anything you can do to get to know what they do, because hopefully the one thing that the kids and teachers and people watching are going to pick up on is that there's a lot of hard work that goes on out there, and we do everything for a reason. We don't just like to go out and work hard.
Right.
There's a lot of reasons why we have to do the things we do to be good stewards of the land, to take care of the birds. Everything we do has a rhyme and reason behind it, and I think the more people can take a minute and learn from the farmers what they do and why they do it. I haven't had anybody yet not surprised at when they hear what all we do.
Yeah, and I can tell too from you talking to you guys in the last couple of days, like how passionate you are, how much you just love the hens. So that was a fantastic question. One of the things that you can do, and we're going to take a few more questions, but if you go to educationstation.discoveryeducation.com, this is one of those places where they can actually learn. There's all sorts of free teacher resources and student resources where you can explore and learn more about what you're learning today. There's also this pretty incredible, for lack of a better word, incredible, incredible egg sweepstakes, where some teachers have been submitting some of the things that they're doing to talk about this whole farm food web. And I would like to recognize a couple of those pictures that have been sent in. So the first one, if we can put that up, is Miss Reed's second grade class in Bethany Elementary School, Reedsville, North Carolina. So hopefully you guys are watching. Their class is learning about the journey an egg takes from farm to table. Another one, if we could jump to this one, Miss Searcy's class, first grade class, in Roswell, Georgia. They are experimenting the strength of an egg, and it looks like a pretty good experiment. So we encourage you today, tomorrow, next week. We'd love to see more pictures on how you're using those resources at educationstation.discoveryeducation.com. Send us your pictures, because the other piece of this incredible egg sweepstakes is you can win up to $5,000 for classroom resources for your school. And they have until April 17th to do that.
We could see the teachers sink then, because they would be so happy with what they got.
I think so. I think so. We would love to see that picture. So you have until April 17th. Just wanted to point that out. Lots of resources. Let's jump to a few more questions if you guys don't mind.
Okay. Sure.
And I do think, let me see if I can get it real quick, because I put that challenge out, 2.4 million eggs a day.
Yes. Well, the answer.
Okay.
How many dozen?
How many dozen? Well, I'm not going to give you the answer, Cal. I'm not going to give you the answer. I would say maybe, let's see, 2.4 million divided by 12, 200,000 sound about right? And let me look and see what I'm going to confirm this with. Yeah, Miss Garter's second grade class. South Carolina, 200. They have 200,000. They got 200,000 too. So South Carolina, thank you, because I was having trouble with the math myself and I challenged it, so you confirmed it. I'm assuming you're in high school.
You're
maybe
as smart as a second grader.
Thank you. I think they're. I mean, they're obviously pretty intelligent
Brilliant.
second
They're
graders.
brilliant out there.
All right, so here we go. Let's go to a few more questions. Continue getting heckled by my friend Cal here, who has rubbed manure on me and everything. But it's all for fun to teach you about food webs, kids. All right, here we go. A few more questions. James from Mrs. Simon's class in Florida. So, question from Florida. How many eggs should you eat when eating scrambled eggs?
As many as you can. I think that eggs taste good, so you should eat as many as you can.
Yeah? Andy, anyone want to chime in on that?
Shove them in.
They're a great powerhouse of protein and everything that every kid ought to be having. Kids, adults, everybody should be eating more eggs for breakfast. Keep you going good to lunch. So.
And there's not just, I had an omelet this morning, but there's not just eggs and like eating eggs, scrambled
we've been
eggs.
eating hard-cooked eggs earlier and omelets and everything is.
And it's in all sorts of other foods too, right?
Eggs in every form.
Yeah. My favorite is ice cream.
Oh, definitely.
Eggs and ice cream.
Eggs and ice cream. I could just see that. I could see you walking through having some ice cream, listening to your hens sing. Right? That's a good day. All right. Mrs. K's first grade class in Manuka, Illinois. What is your busiest time of the year and why?
Well, right now being pre-Easter, with it coming up, that's a huge time for us, of course. So that's one time that all of our farms are at full capacity out in all the buildings and things. And also the holiday season that we just came through. From the time kids go back to school in the fall, egg demand picks up. So that always does real good. But Easter right now is a huge time for us.
Okay. A couple more questions. Michael from O.C. Taylor, Colleyville, Texas. How do you get different sized eggs? Cal, I think this one's yours.
Well, basically, it's age-related. Younger hens are smaller. They do lay a smaller egg. As the hen matures and gets larger and matures, then she will lay a larger egg. So it's pretty much age-dependent.
Okay. I think we have time for at least one more question. Maybe this will be our final question, actually, because I love this one. Emma, second grader, Cottonwood Creek in Capel, Texas. Is it true that one typical American eats 250 eggs per year?
Well, actually, the news is even better than that these days. That USDA has just released the recent numbers that it's actually up to 260 eggs per person now annually that people are eating. And so you have to think about, you know, if you don't necessarily eat eggs for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, which I encourage all three, but eggs come in so many forms, like we talked about with the ice cream, cakes, cookies, cheesecake, noodles, and what else? Noodles, mayonnaise, all. There's eggs that slip through into your diet in all sorts of ways. So it's, you know, if you can't get them directly in a meal, you're probably eating them some other way.
Okay.
Too.
I have to say, too, this has been, one, we've learned about this whole, the food web. So producers, consumers, decomposers. There is a lot of math in your jobs, too. I have come to realize that, right? So 250 eggs a year, how many is that a day? Like, kind of overwhelmed. So we're going to go do some math here because we have to wrap up. But we do want to thank you for joining us. Couple reminders. educationstation.discoveryeducation.com. You'll get the archive, actually, if you want to share this with your parents, if you want to share it with a colleague, your siblings. It'll be there right where you're at today. You'll see the archive. But that's also the place where you can get great resources for you, for the students, And by April 17th, you can, we encourage you, strongly encourage you to submit for our sweepstakes, the Incredible Egg Sweepstakes. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for hosting us. This has been a lot of fun.
This was great.
And thank you all for joining us. Have a good day. Bye.